Wichita has been the birthplace of many new ventures, so it is somewhat surprising that on October 3, 1986, the newspapers in Wichita were filled with articles and editorials devoted to the announcement that a new charity was being formed. In this case, the attention was merited because the initial members of the board of directors of the new charity were the movers and shakers of Wichita. They included CEOs of some of the major employers in the city, leading members of the financial community, some of the most preeminent entrepreneurs in the United States, and prominent women in philanthropy and business. Equally impressive was the fact that Dr. D. Kramer Reed, the former head of the University of Kansas School of Medicine in Wichita, agreed to serve as the temporary executive director. The new charity involved was the Wichita Community Foundation, initially called the Greater Wichita Community Foundation. The driving force behind its formation was Richard A. DeVore. Based on his experience with his family's private foundation, Richard DeVore became convinced that Wichita could benefit from a community foundation which could become the focal point for endowed funding for the benefit of charities in the city. To accomplish this, however, he had to receive the support of the leading citizens. One of the first persons he contacted was Fred F. Berry Jr., who was the CEO of a major equipment distributor in Kansas and active in many civic affairs.
My friend Dick came to me to tell me about his concept. He was so passionate and so knowledgeable that he quickly convinced me it was something Wichita should have. But we both agreed that we couldn't really get something of this magnitude started in Wichita without the support of Jordan Haynes, the CEO of Bank 4, a dynamic, leading community figure. And Dick didn't know him very well, but I did, and I was a director of the bank, so I agreed to call on him. At first, Jordan was skeptical that he didn't see the need for a community foundation, but he did agree to poll a group of peers of his, banks about his size, I think probably in communities more or less our size, and see what they thought. And in very short order, as I recall, he came back to me and said, "Fred, I was wrong. My peers unanimously endorsed the idea of a community foundation, and in fact can't believe that Wichita doesn't already have one."
Jordan Haynes not only supported the concept, he along with Dick DeVore, Fred Berry, Dorothy Reed, and Dean Ritchie became the incorporators of the foundation. Messrs. DeVore, Haynes, Ritchie, and Berry also became the initial officers of the foundation, and along with Ken Brasted, Mary Lynn Oliver, and Ken Wagner, were the first members of the executive committee. They and the other members of the board of directors were faced with the daunting task of starting a charity from scratch, including underwriting the startup and administration costs. The responsibilities did not end, however, with financial support. The Community Foundation was new to Wichita, and a massive information and publicity campaign had to be developed and implemented to introduce the foundation, to extol its advantages, to explain the various funds that could be created, the ways in which gifts could be made, and to provide information to assist professional advisors, trust officers, businesses, and other charities, and to furnish simple forms to facilitate giving. The community responded with enthusiastic support. Koch Industries announced that it would establish a $100,000 fund and additionally would contribute $20,000 to help fund the administration expenses. The YMCA announced that it would create a $134,000 maintenance reserve fund to be managed by the foundation. A $25,000 fund was contributed for the benefit of the Sedgwick County Zoo, and the first donor advisory fund created by an individual was announced by the Gosserts. By the time the first annual report was published in the summer of 1987, Dick DeVore was able to report that the foundation had assets in excess of $730,000. DeVore also reported that the foundation had issued grants of more than $135,000 in its first 9 months, leading the Wichita Eagle-Beacon to declare that the foundation was a community blessing. Not content to rest on their laurels, Richard DeVore and the board pressed ahead. New brochures were developed. A periodic newsletter was issued, and a formal annual report was devised and widely published. As a result of these and other efforts, the assets continued to grow, topping over $4 million in 1992 and 1993. Although that growth was impressive, it would be dwarfed by the events of the following year, when Mary Lynn Oliver, who was then the chairman of the board and who had been on the executive committee since the beginning, announced that she was making a $1 million challenge gift to the foundation and additionally was contributing another $1.9 million from her parents' foundation.
Well, when I first learned about the Community Foundation from Dick DeVore and others, we knew that to reach the $5 million mark was a milestone in Community Foundation's growth. So that was the reason that I provided the challenge grant. And the effort of the challenge grant was to build a pool of permanent, unrestricted sources of funds so that the Community Foundation could become a leader, because it's with those kinds of funds that it's more flexible and it can respond to the various needs in the community.
The announcement was applauded by Wichita Eagle editorial, which trumpeted "Takeoff, Community Foundation becoming a significant force for good works." And "takeoff" was an appropriate phrase because the foundation's growth accelerated. From the $4 million level in 1993, the assets almost doubled in the next year, and by the year 2000, the assets had increased sixfold to $23.4 million. That, however, only tells half of the story. The foundation also dispersed substantial sums to charity. By the year 2000, its cumulative grants totaled over $12 million. The growth was more than just financial in scope. Jim Moore, who was executive director of the foundation from 1991 until his retirement in 2009, explains,
"The growth in assets enabled the foundation to become more active in community affairs. In addition to simply managing funds and fulfilling donor wishes, the foundation was now able to take a more proactive position in addressing community needs. Projects such as Arts Partners, the Neighborhood Initiative, and Share the Season are examples of projects in which the foundation led the way. Another example was the Economic Emergency Fund. Started by our late chairman, Mike Oatman, in 2002, this fund was meant to address the needs of workers in the Wichita community who had lost jobs during the economic downturn in 2002. Our aircraft manufacturing sector was especially hard hit, and Mike felt that we should create a fund that would help clothe, feed, and shelter individuals and families who were affected by this downturn. Although the foundation provided the seed capital, others were asked to contribute, and more than 10 charitable agencies were enlisted to provide the needed services. The foundation, in other words, was the force which united the community into action.
Hello, my name is Rob Allison, President and CEO of the Wichita Community Foundation. I hope this brief history has given you a better understanding of who we are and what we do. As illustrated by the Economic Emergency Fund discussed by Jim Moore, we interact between donors and nonprofit agencies, producing a synergy that benefits everyone. This is best explained by Mike Oatman himself, who concluded a video on the advantages of creating a fund with a foundation with this statement.
Finally, in addition to these personal benefits, and helping a charity of your choice, you'll be helping Wichita. This is the classic example of synergy at work. When people transfer funds to the Wichita Community Foundation for their favorite charity, the charity not only receives the benefit of those funds, but both the charity and its other donors learn about the Wichita Community Foundation and its services. In addition, the Wichita Community Foundation learns about the charity and is able to share this information with its donors and others. As this cycle continues, the number of donors and their contributions increase, more charities are benefited, the Wichita Community Foundation grows, but most important, Wichita becomes an even better place in which to live.